Hey, what's going on, guys? Bandai's Scopedog kit is here at long last. This is going to be really cool for you Scopedog fans. I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. As you can see, not necessarily like a huge box, and there is going to be some option sets available as Bandai exclusives. We're just going to be taking a look just at the main kit here for today's video. This is in 1/35 scale, so we will also later be taking a look at a side-by-side comparison if you're wondering how this would compare to the Wave version of this kit. But just based on what I've seen of this kit so far, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty hard to beat the Bandai version here, but we'll get into it here for today's video. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so checking out the box art here first, really cool artwork, just kind of very simple, just with a Scopedog kind of front and center there with some really nice illustration work, and just kind of this dark background here. You can see there's another down unit there in the background, but just kind of these explosion effects going on behind the main unit, but again, really nice and very nicely detailed illustration work here on the front, which would be a great reference if you are planning on weathering the kit. You can just use this box art as a reference image there, which is nice. But like I said, a pretty thin box here. Looking at it on the side, you can see there's not too much going to be in there. On the bottom of the box, here is a look at the roller dash, and all the information on this is in Japanese and in English, so you can take a look at all of that. Information about the heavy machine gun action, the eye unit there, how that's going to be able to move around and rotate. There's a note here about the structure of the shoulder joint, the arm punch there, how the arm can kind of extend out, and the down form mechanism for it to kind of kneel down, and kneel like in quotation marks there, but how the legs are going to move and articulate for it to be down like that. On the other side here, a look at the kit fully painted up front and back there with a few detail images, and a few detail images over here, as well of the hand and the bottom of the foot, and a couple of stills there from the Votoms anime. And with that, we can pop the box and see what we've got inside here. We're gonna take a look at all the runners in just a moment. First, want to just take a quick look at the instruction manual, which on the front there, as you can see, is going to feature the same artwork from the front of the box. On the back side, going to be a lot of the same information like we saw on the outside, but there is some cool illustration work over here, an illustration of how the arm punch works. And again, all this information is in Japanese and in English. Some more illustration work over here about the roller dash. So it's kind of a nice addition in here to the manual to have some of that line art in there. Down here we've got the color guide at the bottom. All the colors are there in Japanese and in English as well, and then some of the 120 scale Votoms kits available from Bandai. I should say available as in like Bandai made them, but they don't often very well get reproduced, so they might be kind of hard to find. But here's a look at a few of those kits that Bandai does, in theory, make from time to time. On the inside of the manual here, we've got our parts list, which is there in color, but most of the construction is just going to be here in black and white throughout the main center part of the manual here. The last couple of pages are going to be in color as well, just going over the construction of the weapons, and just kind of, you have a few more images here, which is nice, and then the down form here, just kind of showing how to do that transformation. And then a little bit here at the end. Here is the key point, talking about how some of the parts are molded extra thick, basically, so that they could have like full detail on the inside of the parts. Honestly, I would have preferred if this was like the inside and outside part of these armor was like separate pieces. That would make them easier to paint. But it's cool that they molded these in like kind of a little bit different way to have them thicker and have this full detail kind of on the back side of the part. Anyway, we'll see how those parts look in just a second as we take a look at the runners here. But first, a quick look at these stickers here, as these are not your standard foil stickers, but they have that thin layer of plastic over the top of them, so they're much more kind of substantial looking. They look much more like kind of realistic cameras once you have them on the kit. So these are really cool. They're in a kind of metallic blue-green and metallic red. Runner A is going to be our first runner here in that main dark green color, and you can see some really nice detail around here on some of these sections. As for the key point of these like thicker parts there, I mean, yeah, you can definitely tell that they're a little bit thicker, and they have that kind of interesting detail on the inside. That said, they do have this kind of unsightly detail of the like mold pins, ejector pins in there, which are unfortunate, as this is supposed to be like a key point of the kit. But having those details in there, I mean, if you did want to have these look like really good, that's going to be really difficult to sand out some of those parts in there. Up next then, runner B is going to be all the rest of our dark green parts here for the kit, but you can kind of see how there are some connection gates here on the runner for making variants of this kit that I think we will inevitably see out in the future. So it'll be cool to see what we get for future releases. Here is runner C, which is going to be in our lighter, kind of more minty green color here for some of the parts, and you can see like For some of these parts, for the arms and legs, it looks like they're molded in a way where we will not have any seam lines on those parts, which is nice, and we'll take a closer look at that once we get the kit all built up. Whereas D, E, and F are going to be a few smaller runners here. D in this dark blue color for a few detail parts there. E in this kind of light grayish purple kind of color here for a few parts for the weapons and for the eye, it looks like on there. And then runner F is going to be a couple of additional parts here, mostly just for the one shoulder, which you can imagine for a future variant, this is going to be molded in red, but in this case, it's in that same dark green color. And then lastly, in this dark navy blue color here, runner G is going to be our part for the weapon. And again, this is another one of those key point extra thick part, as yeah, this part here, which is probably about like 4 millimeters thick. It's quite thick, and that's molded as a single piece. So that's kind of interesting indeed, but I mean, okay, all right. Anyway, so yeah, that's something unique about this design for sure. But that's it for the runners. Alright guys, so here it is all built up and it looks awesome. It was a really fun build, quite simple and quite a quick build as well. It's not very parts heavy, so it doesn't have a ton of parts, but I think it does really do a good job of making the most of what parts that it does have to a relatively simple design here. And what I'm really looking forward to is seeing a side-by-side comparison here with the Wave version, just because I just want to see how they're going to compare. Just I think like first impression looks on this one, it looks so much better. One thing that I'm wondering that the Wave version might have over this is just kind of general details, but we'll see that here a little bit later in the review. For now, let's go ahead and start off by taking a look at some of the accessories. And in terms of the accessories here for this one, we really don't have a whole lot. Like I said, it was a pretty quick build. So first of all, we have, of course, its rifle. And nice that it's in two different colors there. That does give it a little bit of nice color separation there at the end. You even have these like kind of holes along the barrel there where you can see that lighter color gray. You are still going to have two main pieces for the main body of the rifle. So you're going to have a seam line on some of the parts here. Not too out of the ordinary for an HG kit, but I do kind of wish that they would have made this in a way that at least would have made that as like a detail panel line or something like that, and you wouldn't have had that seam. Now on the ammunition cartridge over here, this is one solid piece like we saw, and it's kind of nice that we aren't going to need to remove a seam line on this, but because this is a quite thick part, all molded as one single piece, it's probably got a pretty nasty sink on the front of it, and it's kind of hard to tell without getting some paint or at least doing some sanding on here. But I think like with some of the other thicker pieces here in this kit, it's going to take some good sanding to get the surface like actually truly flat, because it's probably got a nasty sink on there. Other than that, we do have one hand option part here, which is an open hand for the left side on the kit right now. As you can see, we just kind of have these holding hands, which are just kind of actually like can sort of act as closed fists or holding hands there, and then you just are one open hand here for the left side just as a rifle support hand essentially. We've also got an action base connector here, which is going to connect up underneath the back of the hip section right up in there. Kind of interesting why they didn't just go for like a standard, just making a hole in the center of the hip section there and then just having like a little cap piece or something to cover it up if you don't want to have that. But the connection here, if you wanted to put it up on an action base, is a separate adapter piece there. And lastly, but definitely worth noting, is the fact that for these stickers for the eye camera, we have 3 extras of each. So I was looking at this thinking, okay, where are these stickers going to actually go on here? But no, it's just the 2 stickers that you need for right here on the eye cameras. And you have a lot of extras, so that's great in case like you put one on like me if you're building this like this, and then later when you wanted to actually paint it, you're gonna have to take those off and then have to re-stick them, which is probably not gonna work well, but you just have extras, which is good. Or if you want to use these for something else, they're definitely nice to have. And not even the stickers themselves make for great just kind of option stickers to have that you can use on other kits, but also all this negative area here, like for example, just all this shiny metallic bluish green there. If you wanted a sticker for a different kit, you need like a rectangular like head camera sticker or something like that for a Gundam kit, you can just cut it out of here. So this is definitely good to have as just kind of like a customizing material. Now let's talk a little bit more about the kit itself. I mentioned the seam line on the rifle. As for any seam lines on the kit itself, you really don't have any, which is really nice. So you don't have to worry about too much seams, and we will talk some more about that in comparison with the Wave version, because it's a very different story. But there are some interesting things to point out. The head visor here doesn't actually flip up, and the head itself is on a ball joint. So if you can, it's kind of difficult to pop this up on the ball joint there, but you can actually angle the head up and down on the ball joint like that. So it's more than like just a simple rotation, but you can actually rotate and adjust the angle of that as you might want. Also, the camera on the front of the head here, of course, does move side to side there like that. You can also rotate it, and it's going to be kind of tricky when you have to be careful not to pop that off, but you can rotate it if you need to as well. So that works really cool. But yeah, if we just remove this part, I just want to show this to you guys that this part is not actually hollow. On the wave version, this is actually like a hollow space, which I think it's supposed to be. But you can see like the line is there. So if you wanted to actually just cut that out and make it actually hollow back behind there, you can cut this piece out right there for the face. Moving on to the torso, then the chest actually doesn't open up where the cockpit would be. You have to get the premium Bandai version, which has parts for the cockpit. But we have some rotation here at the hip section, and then between the lighter and the darker color green, you have a ball joint which will allow you to bend that forward here like that. So that does give you a nice little extra bit of articulation there. The shoulder piece is a single piece, again, no seam line on that, which is awesome, and that will bend to the front like that. The whole shoulder joint will pop out like so. This little hook part here on the side obviously hangs loose like that. The shoulder armor itself is just attached via a little ball joint, so you can kind of adjust the angle of that a little bit. Ultimately, raising the arm up vertically though is going to be very challenging just because of this ball and socket joint here for the arm connection to the torso, and you're really not going to be able to pop the arm upwards any higher than like 45 degrees there like that. So that's a little bit disappointing they didn't make a shoulder joint that could allow the arm to raise up a little bit higher. But we have some rotation there at the bicep. Our elbow joint is going to give us about 90 degrees bend there like that. Some nice detail around on the arm. And again, no seam lines, which is nice. Underneath this thicker armor piece right here for the back of the hand, we have some detail there. Our hand piece is just on a ball joint here, and that's just made up of just two simple pieces there, but again, nicely detailed for it in around on the fingers. One other feature, of course, here for the arm would be the arm punch. So this forearm part does kind of extend out like that slightly, which is a cool little added extra feature in there as well. The front skirts can move up and down. They're just connected on there like that, and again, nice detail up underneath. The side skirts are connected via a ball joint, so you can move them up and down a little bit there as well, and again, some nice detail up underneath those sections. The back skirt can also lift up and down, and again, you can see the nice detail underneath the skirt section there as well. The hip joint is one that will rock up and down the left side and the right side. Kind of a little bit difficult to demonstrate this for you guys, but it will rock up and down like that. But just like with the arms, the hips, the legs are attached just via a simple ball and socket joint up there at the top like that, which again, not ideal, not for me, but at least we do have some rotation there at the top of the thigh. The knee bend here is going to be pretty good, as of course we have the folding leg section for being able to do the down form. And of course, when you bend the knee, this kind of armor flap here, which covers like the back of the calf section there, folds up and out of the way there like that. These other armor sections down here around the feet at the front and back are again those larger or like kind of a little bit thicker parts there that have some nice detail up underneath there, nice detail up underneath the feet. While we're here, we can look at that. The kind of wheel there doesn't actually move or anything, that's just a molded in detail. And as far as the ankle joint goes, you can move this back and move the foot forward and back pretty nicely like this. Also side to side. It's kind of an interesting joint here for the ankle. As you can see, it's just also a ball and socket joint there, but the ankle joint is connected into the foot via another ball joint kind of in the toe. And so you're able to move the ankle joint side to side and forward and back all here. So again, it's just pretty simple, just kind of two parts in there, but they allow for a pretty good range of movement. Now let's talk comparison. So this is the Wave version here on the right side. It's the Bandai version, and you can see the Wave version, while it is 1/35 scale and the Bandai version is not given a particular scale, it is slightly larger. So it is going to be a little bit larger than 1/35 scale, either that or one of them is out of proportion. But I think generally you could say that it's 1/35 scale, and if you wanted to pair it with some other 1/35 scale accessories, then they should go just fine with the Bandai Scopedog there. But obviously they're going to look pretty similar, some small differences in terms of just like the general proportions of everything. But I think the largest difference is just going to be all the quality Bandai engineering that you're getting with the Bandai version. Of course, the Wave version has seam lines on like the shoulder armor up here, and around here on the back of the leg. You can see where Bandai hid their seam line as a kind of detail there on the back side of the leg. The Wave version has the seam line just like right down the middle. But if you look closely here, is another thing to compare is just the overall detail. You can see on this Wave part right here, this part for the back of the leg has all that detail on it, where Bandai's version is just a blank piece like that. Here on the back skirt, you can see the Wave version again has more detail on the back side of the body. That piece right there in like the center of the back, for example, the Wave version versus Bandai's version. Even the shoulder armor, so like I said, even the Wave's version does have that seam line, which makes it a little bit more annoying. You can see it has that added detail of kind of the line around the edge of the shoulder armor there. On the chest and head, it's going to be pretty similar in terms of what they've got here. The clear lens piece here on the Wave version is nice, but I gotta say the like plastic stickers here for Bandai's version also look nice. So it just kind of depends on what you're going for. It would be very easy to either use some kind of stickers here for the Wave kit or use some kind of clear part for the Bandai kit, whatever you might want to do. It's pretty easy to change that. There is a little bit more kind of articulation, I guess you could call it, in the fact that the scope on the front of the face does actually open up, and like I said, it is hollow in there. This is not the PS version of the Scopedog, so there is not a pilot or a full cockpit inside, but it does still open up, so it has the opening mechanic here, and you can see like where the cockpit seat details would be if this is the PS version of it, which they have versions with and without that added detail that you can kind of choose from for the Wave kits. But I mean, as you can see, there's definitely some pros and cons. The Wave version is also going to be more expensive and just kind of harder to get, so I think Bandai's version, you know, pound for pound is going to be the better version of the kit to get for sure. But if you wanted something that feels a bit more kind of like a bit more of an old school model kit with a little bit more detail, but it's going to take a little bit more work to get it to really look its best, the Wave version is really nice. I do have to say I do really like the Wave kits in this series, but Bandai's kit definitely is going to be really nice as well, especially it's much more beginner friendly. It's much more solid. I'm not feeling like there's pieces gonna fall off or anything. I don't need to glue anything. And that's pretty much exactly what you could expect from like a new Bandai kit of this, right? So let's wrap up the review here by taking a look at some different poses with this kit, but obviously, as you might imagine, I'm gonna have only good things to say about this. There's really nothing negative that I could really say about this kit, other than the fact that it would have been nice that maybe if it would have included some more accessories. It looks like, at least for this first release, Bandai has chosen to release some really cool accessories as some premium Bandai option sets that you can get for this, which are nice if you're able to get them. But I think another thing that we can be sure of is the fact that we are going to see more versions of this out in the future. Now, how many other different future versions will either be premium Bandai or standard release is kind of hard to say at this point, and how many other different versions and different Votoms kits are they going to make in this new kind of line of HG kits is hard to say, but hopefully they'll at least make kind of smaller versions of all the previous model kits that they've made in their 120 scale line of Votoms kits. I think that would be cool. I think that would kind of make sense, but we'll just have to see. I'm looking forward to more versions, of course, because like I said, compared with the Wave kits, for example, the nice thing about these is that they're certainly very solid. They come with all that really nice Bandai engineering that you would come to expect, and at a cheaper price, which is nice as well. So if you guys are fans of Votoms and fans of the Scopedog design, then definitely worth checking out this kit. I would highly recommend it. I think it's going to be one that's going to be pretty popular, that we're going to see a lot of people picking up. And again, I think a lot of that is just going to be just due to the price, with the Wave versions being more expensive and Bandai's 120 scale versions being not that too easy to come across. It seems like they're not around very much, not getting reprinted, and when they do get reprinted, getting bought up kind of pretty quickly. So they're not really readily available for a lot of people. So I think with this new HG coming out from Bandai, it's going to be easy to get and for a nice, comfortable price. So hopefully you guys will be checking it out. I think it's going to be one that a lot of you guys are going to enjoy, and definitely a great kit to obviously practice your weathering on, because it is in the larger scale compared to like a lot of Gundam models, of course, and just kind of due to like the series and the design general aesthetic, it's obviously one that looks good with some nice weathering on it. So definitely one to get and practice your weathering on. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the new Scopedog kit here from Bandai. What do you think about it? If you guys want to check it out for yourself, there'll be a link down in the video description below to USA Gundam Store, where you guys can check this kit out for yourself and other different mecha models and everything else there. But as always, guys, thank you all so much for all of your support, liking the video, commenting, and subscribing. It's very helpful, so thank you guys so much. Until next time, hope you all have a great day. I'll see y'all later. Bye, guys.